house music. And he just felt like we needed to have more of the vibes of the house culture, which is, you know, all the letters of the substances that you could say. There's several. There's a M letter, there's a K letter, there's a C letter, there's a 2 number. There's all kinds of different things to describe the substances. And that was a bit weird, because he was like, you know, you got to embrace the culture of house music. Diddy loved house music, right? He was all house and techno music. So here I am working with Biggie's estate, doing a house and techno project. So you know, I saw a lot of the letter substances.
We've got a viewer called Pam who's asking whether you ever went to a Diddy party.
Well, Jonathan,
to be honest, everywhere around him was a party.
Jonathan, you kind of cut out a little bit there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, your internet's dipping out. We've got a little bit of a delay. Whilst I'm explaining this, can everyone like and subscribe and share? Okay, share and like and subscribe. Push this out. That'd be great. Jonathan, if you could go back to the beginning of that answer for us, that would be great. Did you ever attend a Diddy party?
Everything around Diddy was
may
a
be
party.
frozen again.
Diddy party, like, what's that?
I'm sorry.
Nothing, Jonathan. There's such a delay between us stopping talking and you starting talking. Sometimes it looks like you've frozen. So we're just battling that now, brother. If you want to, we'll start. Just pretend like we have.
I got you.
Yeah, just pretend we're not on the third attempt of this. Did you ever go to a Diddy party?
No, not like you hear about in the news, but everything around Diddy was a party constantly.
Yeah.
So he always had a bunch of people. He always had music. He always had drugs. He always had cocktails. He always had, you know, strippers. He always had, you know, his entourage of debauchery.
And you know, you take away all of the allegations, and that's what you imagine celebrity life is, right? Non-stop party, luxuries, extravagance, all of it. And the staggering amount of allegations and charges that are being put to Diddy. Do you think that this is the beginning of a Hollywood sweep? Do you think we're going to see anyone else involved in this, Jonathan?
I mean, it seems like Jay-Z, right? But I'll tell you this, it's very strange. Is like through my whole career, like I started my career young, like in my 20s, like in college. And, you know, didn't even finish college because I started my career. And I thought for sure it was going to be like sex, drugs, rock and sorry. I thought it was going to be, you know, like the party thing when I'm a kid, like we're going to have a blast. And it was boring. It was like, I'm a publicist. It was like, this isn't anything that I thought it would be. I am, you know, in my 40s. And then here's Diddy, like, you know, with all these drugs and female dancers, exotic workers. It was a bit strange.
So you're getting asked by Jen if you ever saw any violence between celebrities or extremely weird behavior.
I mean, violence between celebrities, I think because of the position that I was in, you know, where I'm pistol whooped and bound and duct taped and held for 2 hours during a home invasion, probably because of my ties to celebrities, I would say that's pretty weird, right?
Yeah.
Coming home
Jonathan,
with your daughter, and next thing you know, it's like you're duct taped.
Jonathan, that's such an important story. Are you okay just to take us through it and just let the viewers know what led up to that?
So what led up to it, at the time I was working with Drake and Sophie, the mother of his child, and everything was normal. I've never experienced any violence. You know, it was in the suburbs of St. Matthews, and you know where you leave your door unlocked. So we go to Taco Bell in the middle of the night with my daughter, 14-year-old, right? And we're coming home after Taco Bell, and next thing you know, there's two men pushing us in our house, you know, pistol whipped, falling on the ground, pushed into a chair, and I'm duct taped and I'm held for 2 hours, just expecting to die at any moment, and just praying that I wasn't my daughter's last moments of me on earth. She wasn't going to see me being a coward or me begging for my life. I just was trying to keep us alive, and they let us go, and they ended up going to prison. And so that was a very traumatic experience, and something that it definitely changed everything in my life.
What was going through your head during those 2 hours?
Um, I felt guilt, and I felt like everything that I had been promoting, like the violence and the hip hop and the music that I've done, had now came and backfired, and now my daughter is in this situation with me at 14 years old. And it was that situation and basically, ruined our relationship, because my daughter had look up to me like, I'm a superhero, and now here's her father like duct taped in front of her, and now I'm her trauma. So if she were to see me, I'm a flashback of her trauma. So I'm a trigger. So that sucks. So I mean,
So
it is what it is.
Patty is asking, was your daughter hurt during this?
Absolutely.
And Jen is asking, did this incident happen because of your connection to Drake?
I think so. I do, because Drake is a funny guy, right? Just like Jaguar, after she did Pierce Morgan, she doubled down on the blue couch, and she said that she brought up the home invasion again and what I went through, and 1.5 million people saw it. What she was saying, and it really, a lot of people have got involved. Authorities have got involved. Investigators have got involved. Private investigators have got involved. And just from the amount of people and the amount of enemies that Drake has, have wanted to connect the dots. And it'd be great too with you guys, being true crime, if you guys could look into it as well. I'd do anything for justice, right? But Drake, I was working with Drake at the time, and after it was over, Drake did taunt me about the home invasion and his song Sandra's Rose, and he did do some other stuff, involving like my ex, fiance at the time. So it definitely seemed like if he didn't have any involvement in itself, that he did have involvement to taunt me with it afterwards.
Wow. So, Tommy and Ron, I'm sure you guys have got some questions about the home invasion.
I'm frantically going through the Sandra's Rose lyrics right now on Genius. But that is absolutely one of the most horrific stories. I mean, we've all heard home invasions. We've all heard we've all seen movies, God damn it. But to hear the horrific aftermath of what your daughter went through, that's going to stay with me a long time, bro. Like, I've got 7 children.
Yeah.
The thought, God, you know what, mate? It's their little face going from you're an indestructible superhero to anything other than that, right? Anything other than that, and you losing that is, I mean, I imagine there's days where you were like, I wish I didn't have to deal with that. I wish things had went different. I wish I didn't have to face the reality of what these monsters have now done to my family life. And I didn't even know what to say to you. I just want you to know from one father to another, I'm so sorry that is happened to you.
Yeah, I hope everybody caught his answer when someone said what goes through your mind at that moment. I think that's one of the most fascinating answers I've ever heard in my life. I mean, if you could touch on that again, if you don't mind, because that's the indication of this industry and what the fact that you were a part of this and now it's coming to your doorstep, I think is just an unbelievable statement, man. It really is. It's amazing.
Yeah, like when it was happening, the guilt that I was feeling. Yeah, I felt like I'm Tom, obviously, to God, and it's like if I can get through this, if I can make it through this, I'm not going to do any more gangster music, or I'm not going to do anything to glorify violence, or I'm not going to do anything like I've done in the past. So, and he did, and I haven't, and that's when I started to do like jazz music and like house music, and I won't do anything with any kind of negative content, because the as a publicist, the stuff that I was promoting had backfired, and there I was duct taped with my 14-year-old daughter. So never again. So as I said, I had a lot of guilt, and I'm duct taped. My daughter couldn't see me, and I can still remember being behind the duct tape and just praying, to help get out of this situation.
So Patty is asking, why did they let you out of the duct tape? How did it end?
So as I said, I wasn't begging or anything like that. They were looking for they were the reason why they were in my place for 2 hours. So the whole ordeal being duct tape lasted for 2 hours, and just waiting to die and stuff. And they kept going through my place looking for cash, looking for anything. And I told them that I didn't have anything there, that because I had just moved at the time, because I went through that bad breakup and I had moved. And I said, I do have a safe and it's at my parents' house that was like 2 blocks away. And I told them, I was like, if you come back, we can find a time to meet up and I can give you the cash. And I gave them my debit cards, and I gave them my PIN numbers. And I remember when they started the investigation, they're like, why would you give them your PIN number in there? If they take my debit card, one of them, and goes next door, runs the PIN and it's not correct, then they could come back and kill us. I was just trying to keep us alive. So the cops were stupid. So I gave them my PIN numbers, and what do? They go to a strip bar. And, in a strip club, you see, they have cameras on in the ATM. And then after they go to the strip club, they go to the casino right across the bridge in Indiana, using my, debit cards to pull cash out with the correct PIN number. So that's how the cops were able to get the pictures of them. They were totally stupid. So then when they came back, we set up a bust, we set up arrest. They like had my phone tapped and everything else. Like we set up to record when the guy would call. And when they meet me to get the rest of the money, the police officers were there, and they arrested him.
Wow. You're getting asked, what kinds of things were they saying to you during the time they had you tied up?
So this one guy that I'll never forget, he kept putting like a gun to my head. Russian, like almost like Russian roulette, right? And I could just feel the gun, up to my head, right? The steel. And I didn't know because I'm duct taped, but he had taken the bullets weren't in there. So he would like pull the trigger and I would be like gasping or I would be like bracing myself, to be shot in the head. That's the type of stuff that I was thinking. And they just kept like tearing up the stuff like, if we find money, we're gonna shoot you, blah, 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 blah. They were just like terrorizing us for like 2 hours is what they were doing.
My God, that's extreme. It's like a
And
scene
the
of
whole
the Deer Hunt.
time I'm just listening, right? And
Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
So that made you completely.
it was surreal.
What was the aftermath when the cops came?
What was the what? I'm sorry.
So after you were freed, what was the aftermath like when the police arrived?
So they were in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was in the suburbs. So the police station was shared with the library, a public library. So it was like the worst police officers that you can think of. They didn't know what to do. And I used my publicity contacts to go to the press and then once I went to the press with it and once we started getting some press, it put more pressure on them. And then they finally they finally made an arrest after, but they had the photos from like from the ATMs and everything. So like they were caught dead to rights. And then they pled guilty and they went to jail and I've been picking up the pieces ever since then.
Does picking up those pieces include feeling unsafe in your own home? And did you feel so unsafe that you wanted to move home?
I did move. I moved to New York. I moved to Brooklyn. But it wasn't because of that. Like it honestly, it made me fearless. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, you're speaking out against these powerful entities." I don't. I've already been through something so traumatic, right? So I'm not, what else could what else could they do to me? And I think that people need to speak out more because the more you speak out if something does happen, they're going to look at it more, right? So if something were to happen to me, then there's a lot of me on YouTube speaking out about different people that it would probably, I think it helped protects us. I think the louder we whistle blow, the more safer we are.
I agree. I just want to say as well, that question that Sean asked you there, I was actually asked by Jen, his wife, in the side chat, and he asked you it shamelessly without giving her any credit. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Jen for that question. But how, again, everyone in the side chat, Jonathan, is like, people are monsters, people are horrific, all the rest of it. Do you ever wonder how prevalent these attacks are? And have you heard of other people suffering at the hands of celebrities and elites in the way that you did?
Yeah. And I think that's what Jaguar and I bonded over in the beginning, the trauma bonding, so to speak, is because she had been through what, that she had been through. So there's a common denominator of pain and trauma between us. And to be honest, hers is worse because she lost a child. right? My child is still here, but at the same time, I lost my child that day because she was no longer 14 years old.
Right.
And we don't have the same relationship as we did. So yeah,
What's
I
it
think
been
it's
like?
unfortunately common.
What's it been like for her picking up the pieces?
She's pregnant now. She's in a relationship. She's going to school. We don't speak, which is heartbreaking because she was the closest thing to me, and like going through counseling